What's up guys, it's Lord Both here with another video, and Gamescon 2024 has been this week. There's been some good, a fair bit of bad, and a ton of ugly. In this video we are going to cover some of the major games and headlines that are going to be coming out of Gamescon 2024. Now I'm not going to cover everything that happened in detail. It was, to be honest, a fairly dull affair. If you are interested in going through the pain of watching all of Gamescon via live streaming or VOD, if you are a masochist that wants to put yourself through that kind of punishment, go check out the Gronking on Dogs podcast. That's the GOD podcast on YouTube. Really good guys over there. They have been live streaming the whole event. Their levity and the way they cover the event makes it bearable to get through. And they also offer pretty good insight on some of the more interesting stories. So again, check out the GOD podcast on YouTube if you're interested in watching the whole event live streams via VOD. But yes, Gamescom has just been a riveting event filled with microphones that didn't work, non-English speaker game developers being forced to speak English in interviews with German people who also don't speak English while in Germany. It also featured a commercial for joysticks and controllers for the physically disabled, followed up by a 15-minute interview with the developers of those joysticks and controllers. Now don't get me wrong, controllers for the physically disabled so that they can play and enjoy games is a great thing. And I'm not knocking their developers over at Xbox for doing it. But do we really need a 15-minute interview after a commercial for them to tell me how important they are and how amazing they are at a gaming expo? I think this is one of those things you could have just, post online or spammed in social media, and you would have gotten the same PR result, if not bigger. This article here comes to us from IGN. It covers some of the bigger items. We're just going to go through the headlines here as sort of a roadmap of things we're covering. Gamescom 2024, the biggest announcement so far. First up, we have Borderlands 4. Everybody's excited for Borderlands 4, right? No! Especially after the Borderlands movie certainly hyped it. The great success of the Borderlands movie, I'm sure, got people really interested in the franchise. A franchise that was already in decline and many gamers had walked away from before even its third installment in 2019. And we're only going to cover this quick because they didn't really show anything except for the teaser to confirm that Borderlands 4 is happening. So there's no speculation anymore, is Borderlands 4 going to happen or not? No, it's happening. I think it might be dead on arrival unless it releases some gameplay and cinematic trailers that are just off the charts spectacular. Which, to be honest, from the Borderlands series is not really anything I've kind of gotten before. Second thing we got here is the Diablo 4 DLC. There's a big DLC that they're dropping soon. I've never been a big Diablo guy. What I do know from watching this is that they spent like 20 minutes with the developers of this in an interview that, I gotta be honest with you, I don't remember a single fucking word of. It was so dry and went on for so long. It was like 20 minutes and it felt like 3 hours. Up next, we had our first look at Sid Meier's Civilization 7. Now, I am a fan of the Civilization series and sort of these strategy, world-building, nation-sprawling games like that. Some of the major things we learned about Civilization 7, Gwendolyn Christie will be taking over for the narration of Nations from Sean Bean. Why is Sean Bean not doing the narrations anymore? I don't know, maybe the devs got bored of him. Maybe they thought they needed to switch it up. Maybe Sean Bean wanted too much money. God knows he needs it from all the divorces he's had. Or maybe he just didn't want to do it anymore. He is certainly an enigmatic figure, that Sean Bean, when he's not being offed in the next series or movie that he stars in. By the way, if you don't recognize the name Gwendolyn Christie, she was the greatly unremarkable and unrememberable Captain Phasma in the Star Wars sequel series, where even she kept her helmet on more than Pablo over at the Halo series. And of course, the big thing she's remembered from is Game of Thrones, where she played Brienne of Tarth, the really big, ugly lady. Now, to be fair, she's not actually that ugly in real life. I believe she was actually a model, and she does have them cheeks. I don't forget that scene in Game of Thrones, trust me. But as for the content of Civilization 7 itself, they have made some tweaks The graphics have definitely been retweaked and updated. There's a different kind of layer on top of this, you can tell. It looks like it has less of a sheen on it, like previous Civilization entries. They also revealed that there are new river mechanics. In previous installments of Civilization 7, you just walked over rivers, kind of. They weren't really features of the game other than giving you bonuses when you're next to them, and occasionally flooding, which would cause disasters. But now there are real things that you can actually use and explore on the map. The next thing we learned from Civilization 7 is that they're going to be using an evolution-style society system. Basically, you choose a culture at the beginning, right? World leaders, say you play as Napoleon, as France. Well, you're going to have that French culture, but your society is going to level up as it progresses through time. And in each new era that they're introducing, it seems like you have the ability to choose different societies, different kind of cultures, weave them into your base culture for new added bonuses. Now, some of you familiar with these kinds of grid-style strategy games, this is essentially exactly what Humankind did when they were released a few years ago. Humankind, which was released as a competitor to Civilizations, did this same exact thing. They were, however, not as successful as I thought they could have been as a game. However, some elements like that, when I played it, I really did thoroughly enjoy, as I didn't feel stuck to one static culture the whole time during the game. I could shape my society as I believed, or upgrade the current society I had and stay with them the entire game. And it seems like Civilizations is taking a page from that playbook and doing the same exact thing, which you can argue either way is copying your competitors to try to stay ahead of them, or integrating new systems that you've seen your competitors use that make your game more genuinely fun because you care about player experience. But those were the main things we got out of the Civilization 7 trailer. Up next, the new Dying Light game was announced. The Dying Light, of course, is a zombie series, most well remembered for its rooftop traveling system, and it seems like the original protagonist, Kyle Crane, is going to be returning for that series. Now, this was just a reveal trailer. Again, they didn't show much gameplay for it, but it seemed to be keeping with the mechanics of the previous game, including the building rooftop hopping, which seems a little strange because this seems to be placed in rural America, or at least suburban America. So it's not like you have sprawling city rooftops to climb from building to building. It's going to be interesting to see how they do that. My feeling is you're going to be spending a lot more time on the ground. Up next, we had a trailer for the remaster announcement of Goat Simulator. This was by far one of the most entertaining and funny trailers. Basically, the entire trailer is a warden walking through a prison where they house the most ridiculous gaming memes, and the most secured prisoner is the goat from Goat Simulator, who has, of course, escaped. It's a really funny trailer. Go ahead and check it out. If you see any trailers for any games from Gamescom, I recommend this one. It is pretty funny. Some other games trailers we saw an in-depth look trailer and gameplay trailer for Masters of Albion, which is a split-off game of the Fable series. It looked pretty awful. It looked somewhere between a typical city builder and defense game and the same kind of version of that game, but also a mobile version. It really did. It looked like a phone game, to be honest. A lot of the animations reminded me and others of those shitty mafia games that you see on social media scrolling through ads, but this time in a fictional British style world, which seemed to also be mixing up the different periods of Albion from the game. It was kind of all over the place. They also have a hand of God that comes in, which also rendered like the defenses of the town and playing as a hero almost pointless. I don't know why they would do both of those. Peter Molyneux is also returning for the game and its design. He was, of course, a very well-known game developer, and he would never say it, but obviously very past his prime if you take a look at this trailer. The next game that we also got to see some of was Dune Awakening. Dune Awakening is a survival MMO game. The gameplay actually looked pretty good. I'm not a big Dune guy, but I might check this out. I may even drop that specific gameplay trailer in the description. Finally, we had a pretty extensive boss fight gameplay trailer for this game, Crimson Desert. which is an online Souls-like game from what it seems. It's made by Pearl Abyss, who also do Black Desert, the big massive online MMO, and it actually looked really good. The gameplay looked pretty smooth and pretty in-depth, and the mystery that actually set up in this small gameplay clip actually had me interested in the game and wanting to know more. Finally, we also had trailers for games that already came out. Games like Black Myth Wukong. Why are they running a trailer for Black Myth Wukong that's already came out when it's doing as good a numbers it's already doing? I don't know. It's a pretty big waste of time. Especially when you consider that something as good as this Crimson Desert trailer was being pushed to the after show. We also had Dustborn, which just recently came out, also have a trailer played. Now, we covered Dustborn in a previous video as well, and it is a truly horrific piece of dog shit. And all the trailer really showed was that the game is in fact a horrific piece of dog shit, described as the wokest game ever created. It's basically a Telltale game with a little bit more in-depth, shittier mechanics that's inspired by the reaction on the left to the election of Donald Trump. So yay, more politics in games, guys. Just what everybody's been clamoring for.
Yes, yes.
In fact, in this game, they essentially say if you don't like politics in your video games, you're part and a contributor to fascist societies. So yeah, if that's your thing, go ahead and check out Dustborn. You'll be part of like the 80 players that are playing it right now, right from release. But anyway, that's just some of the big headline games and news coming out of Gamescom 24. Again, if you want to see the whole thing entirely and not have it mind-numbingly boring in just what's happening, you want some actual commentary, some actual understanding, go ahead and check out the GOD podcast. Drop their link in the description. If you liked this video, please like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't like this video, I appreciate you watching all of it, and we'll talk to you again later.